Carolyn Walker, born in 1982 in Dunfermline, Scotland. She currently lives and works in London, UK, where she completed her master's at the Royal College of Art in 2009. She is known for her paintings that reveal the diverse social, cultural, and economic experiences of women living in contemporary society. Drawing on her own photographic source material, Walker provides a unique window into the everyday lives of women. She highlights often overlooked jobs performed by women and the psychologically charged spaces they inhabit. Some do their chores inside and outside the home, like doing the laundry, washing the dishes, watering the plants, cooking, and etc. Though she mostly worked out her art herself, she also looked up to 19th century French painters such as Edward Manet and Edgar Degas, whose paintings were observations of contemporary Parisian life. The way they were painted not only tells you about the things they were depicting and the ideas behind the painting, but about painting itself. I suppose that's what I'm always hoping will happen in my work. In an interview with Emily Spicer, Carolyn Walker was able to share her process or way of working. It's quite an elaborate process that starts with finding a location for a photo shoot. When I have a location, I look for models, props, and clothing. I start to build a story in my head, and then I spend a day on location photographing the models. I almost try to storyboard that, like doing a primitive version of a film shoot, I suppose, although I usually go off track quite quickly and start ad-libbing. I might get hundreds of photographs. Then I'll work with them back at the studio and start making lots of drawings and oil sketches. So I start putting together potential big paintings, thinking about how they might join up narratively.
I'm preparing something at the moment in the studio which is based on some imagery that I've collated together from a photo shoot that I did. I'll start off by finding a location that interests me, and then I'll hire models and I code them and kind of direct them in this place. And I'll have quite a strong idea of maybe what narratively I'm interested in or who these characters might be. I work on the paintings back in the studio. It's always connections between ideas about femininity, artificiality, illusionistic space and painting, and maybe constructed architectural spaces and our relationship to them.
She paints from photographs she takes herself often covertly, as she documents the cultural, economic, and racial realities that face a diverse group of contemporary women. Her paintings are usually in modernist interiors, and when asked why, she said, "I think that started with my desire to bring my subject matter into a more contemporary context because, up until about 2010, it seemed that I was always painting interiors of traditionally decorated Victorian houses. At some point around 2010, I began to think about how the environment would affect how you feel about the figures in the paintings and what their situation is. I had the opportunity to use a contemporary home as a setting for a photo shoot, and the resulting paintings immediately seemed to engage more with how we live now, instead of looking as though they could have been painted any time in the last 150 years. The subject of my paintings, in its broadest sense, is women's experience, whether that is the imagined interior life of a glimpsed shop worker, a closely observed portrayal of my mother working in the family home, or women I've had the privilege of spending time within their place of work. From the anonymous to the highly personal, what links all these subjects is an investigation of an experience which is specifically female. With Carolyn Walker's works, she likes to challenge the position of the viewer. Her paintings are usually large, giving the viewers a sense that they could almost step into the scene. She doesn't want her paintings to just appear like pictures of something that's happening somewhere, but she wants the viewers to feel involved in the scene and in what's going on. Men are often absent in her works. She wanted the complexities of feminism and women's position within society to be reflected in her paintings. She started drawing pictures of women ever since she was just a little girl, and they were always from her imagination. Her works are observations on what is a complex subject with lots of potential readings. A collector once looked at her paintings and suggested as a criticism that they weren't very empowering. She explained, "I didn't feel that it's my purpose to either empower or disempower." In an anthropological sense, they are observations of the world around me, some of which will make you feel one way about the subject, and others will suggest something different. I find it interesting that there might be this assumption that, as a woman, it is somehow my role to represent women in a way that should be considered empowering. When women look at her paintings, they often tell Carolyn that they know exactly what it feels like to be that person. They see themselves in those positions, whereas with men, they approach it more objectively, as an onlooker. Carolyn Walker hopes that people will see her paintings as a product of the time they were made in, telling something about the culture, society, and political times they were made in a subtle way. Her works can be found in numerous collections worldwide, and she has exhibited in London, Edinburgh, New York, Los Angeles, Milan, and Seoul.